Okay, so I start off with the introduction of Linda and Anthony, and I think everybody has met you from your previous videos. Kim and Richard, I don't know that you guys have been on a video before.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so first timers. All right, we're doing the video for a couple of reasons. So for me, I'm just going to kind of put out there what we're looking to accomplish with this video, and then I hand it over to the four of you guys to have the conversation. So what has come up this week? The amount of people with motor neuron disease who have moved into stability, meaning they're no longer progressing and they're slowly improving, as well as the number of people that are showing improvements. And so, Linda, you and Anthony, what we know already in your case, Linda, just stability for an impressive length of time. When we did the video last time, it was with Brian. Brian is a reversal. And one of the things we want to talk about today, the changes between last video and this video, which is lifestyle and specifically the addition of superfoods. Okay, so for everybody that's going to watch and say, hey, how as a clinic are we getting this many people stable? Again, stable meaning people come on in with what everybody expects from ALS, a progressive deteriorative condition, and then they stop progressing and start getting better. And so imagine that is something that we're seeing more and more of. And Kim, for you and Richard, the reason I think it's so great for the two of you to join in on this, because we have seen some very impressive improvements over these 3 weeks, right? Being able to take steps with Richard's help, but a lot less rigidity. When I came in, you guys were laughing, and my question was, I know, because it sounded, I told you, I was like, what are you guys talking about? It turns out, so for anybody that's wondering, what does make 4 people laugh at the end of the day? The fact that they can turn in bed is the answer to that whole thing. So the success was the fact that both of you guys now are able to turn over in bed, and the decrease in rigidity. Here's the question for the 4 of you guys. I think for everybody that's watching this, they're just looking as well for tips and tricks. Everybody knows on my side, Astrocyte protocol, stem cells. You guys know where I am as far as the kinds of things that we're doing over here. And the question outside of the stuff that I think people already know, like what as a clinic are we doing? The question is, what's the home support and how are you guys doing? And other pieces of advice, because what we know is when we get together here, we're all talking about what works. So this becomes a think tank. And always one of the reasons to do this video, 2 things. One, just to keep putting out there the treatability of this disease, right? As we're seeing just this increasing number, just this very, very large number of people at this point that are either stable or stable and showing major functional improvements. But then aside from that, how do we take all the tips and tricks that are helping at home and through lifestyle and make sure everybody that's not here discussing it knows what those things are? Okay, so now I really will stop talking in order to turn the conversation over. And then anything that you guys think would be helpful for all the other people that are watching this and dealing with motor neuron disease and looking to get the same kinds of improvements.
For us and for Linda, diet I think is really important. There's a lot of food out there. I call it garbage food that's out there, processed foods and things like that. We're all subject to eating that over the years and used to that. We've done it all our whole lives. And now with this disease, we've really gotten strict on what we're going to eat, how we're going to eat, and not just for her, and not for me as well, because when I prepare a meal for us, I don't make 2 meals. I cook a meal for both of us. And we try to eat as healthy as we can, but we're not experts by no means. But we bounce ideas off of each other while we're here at the clinic with other couples. Amy gives us a ton of information. We Google information, and we try. Yeah, and we talked to Brian when he was down here early in December, and that was very inspirational to meet him and talk with him. And just realize how important diet is for someone who has this disease. You got to eat healthy, clean foods. A lot of them we call superfoods, and we're not an expert on what makes it a superfood or what are all superfoods, but For us, and what works for us may not work for others, but for us, we eat a lot of salads, proteins, and healthy greens. Including like avocados and a lot of organic greens that we buy at the store. Linda eats a lot of grapefruits. We eat blueberries. Strawberries.
Well, so I would interject and say this. I think for a lot of people watching, so everybody that's watching this video needs to appreciate the fact that Linda came in as a progressor, a rapid progressor, and is no longer progressing. So when she's making the comments and when Anthony's describing the fact that you're eating low glycemic vegetables and fruits, I have no doubt there's a bunch of people on the other side thinking, no way, I can't do this. That's not what I've heard. Guys, you're watching somebody that stopped progression and has continued to get better month over month. So we're not wondering if this is a reasonable approach. There is a balance, and so most people have already heard me say, look, the diet needs to be lots of protein, animal-based, and lots of healthy plant-based fats. It doesn't change the fact I am a strong proponent of about 10% of the diet to be rainbow diet and complex carbohydrates. I believe, Linda, in your case, the diet is even higher as far as kind of superfoods. It doesn't change the fact for anybody that's watching this and shaking their head, no, remember, you're watching somebody that came in progressing how long ago?
Our first visit here was May 23rd, 2023.
Okay, so right now we are January of 2025. That's May 2023. Linda came in with substantial deficits and rapid progression and stopped progressing. I think it was this last October. Was it? Or it was before that?
That's when we feel
Bless you, Richard.
That we hit the point where she stopped progressing and actually started to feel better and have more energy, and just it felt like she said I just feel like I just want to get up and run.
Mm-hmm. So what we do know, we were talking about earlier, different people, different diet strategies. Certainly putting everybody into the same diet approach is not going to work. And one of the reasons I thought this video was so important, and I'm so glad that we're doing it, I think plenty of people are out there thinking there's just one diet model that works. You are the exception to what I believe a lot of people think about diet as you're talking about grapefruit, like a super important liver cleaner, and berries or eating salads. You are still eating lots of protein. You are still eating lots of plant-based fats. But the fact that you have those complex carbohydrates in the form of fruits and veggies, I think for a lot of people, they don't realize that could be a help. And the point that you made, I mean, you guys met Brian, and Brian's a complete reversal. And certainly he came to the office with rapidly progressing ALS. And you took his model, which is what includes fruits and vegetables. Again, a limited amount for everybody that's watching, but I think it's super important to put out there in this video. It's not a one size fits all. And I agree, since I saw you guys last, you've made a lot of adjustments in your diet, specifically adding things like fruits and vegetables. That has not changed the fact that you're stable. You are as stable as you have been and continuing to make improvements all the time.
Eliminating a lot of sugar too. Almost all the sugar is gone that Linda was taking in. So I think that has helped a lot. And for both of us, since we're both eating the same,
you've lost weight.
I've lost about 10 pounds, and I'm hoping I can even lose more. But we both feel good. We just feel so much better. We have more energy.
Mm-hmm. More of a balanced diet. And again, focusing more on superfoods. So I'm going to come on over to Kim and Richard, and the only reason is you guys are a little bit of a different situation. I remember calling you and saying, hey, I think I have the switch in this thing. I think I figured out the switch. You came in, this is 3 weeks, and the first week I remember saying to you, I think this is our time. Like the switch can only be elusive for so long, right? This can only be a disease that's this much of a mystery for so long. It can't really be like that forever. And then in your case, it wasn't so much dietary changes. It was really just putting the right recipe in place using the previous visit. So this is your 4th visit. We used 3 visits to really get to the heart of what the heck is going on and do all kinds of targeted approaches to address. And everybody knows already, usually when I'm talking about this kind of stuff, it's infections that we're going after, infections and chemicals. Linda, just talking in your case, polychlorinated biphenyls, right? So talking chemicals on that side, so that becomes a part of your approach. Kim, on yours, we saw something that looked like a mitochondrial limitation, and then the goal this time was, can we address it? And so what we found in your case, again, you were struggling to take steps because of the amount of rigidity in your legs, and by the 3rd day is when you were able to take 8 steps. What's remarkable in your case, in my mind, it's not just the steps, it's what happened with your right foot. Okay, so my question, I'm going to come zoom in. You guys are so far, I can't get the 4 of you. Okay, Richard, you want to just kind of walk us through, or Kim, if you want to type it in. What we saw was right foot, but pointing out.
Yeah, her ankles tilted. She when she was trying to walk, the foot
would roll with weakness.
Yeah. So she haven't been able to walk for several months, and took a few days here after treatment, and we could day by day see a positive change in energy levels, power, muscle power. So even though the friction with the shoes to the floor, she was able to drag her foot in front of the other one. So there was a significant change compared to before we came here. And she's going steady. Yeah.
Okay, so here's what was very surprising to me. All right, just kind of talking again and doing this video with the idea of what is this disease and is there a way to get control? Again, I'm trying to get 4 of you guys. I don't know if I can. Is there a way to get control over this disease? So, Linda, in your case, we know you have been stable. So progression stopped and has stopped for an extended period of time, and we're seeing improvements. And now that you've added these lifestyle changes in, and there are lifestyle changes that are different than the way most people would see it, and that's the reason to really have that conversation. Kim, on your side, what was really surprising, so guys, for everybody that's watching this, here's what I thought. Your right foot would point out. So everybody has that kind of picture in their mind of what that would look like. When you were able to start taking steps, but you had that right foot that was pointing out, and Richard, to your point, an ankle that was not very strong and would buckle, I had expected something like physical therapy to strengthen things, and I had expected whatever the length of time would be to get the strength in the antagonistic muscle would take a considerable length of time. Instead, what's remarkable, and I think really speaks to the treatability of this disease, and the fact that these neurons are actually working and working and can be recruited back into action. We were talking about it. It was like a Tuesday. The following day you came in and you were able to straighten your foot, and you've been able to straighten your foot since then. It is, again, remarkable. I'm going to come on out so I can get the 4 of you, and the reason today we were talking in the room. For everybody that's watching, you can't appreciate not being here and seeing the number of people that are actually getting better. Watching it is pretty crazy, and what you're seeing right now is 2 couples very definitely showing marked improvement and marked stability, doing it in ways that for me I wouldn't have conceived of. As far as fruits and vegetables, I'm clear as well on sugar and their relationship with sugar as far as being toxic for neurons. I would not have necessarily thought that by adding what you're calling superfoods, and those superfoods really are high nutrient dense foods, I would not necessarily have thought that that would contribute to even more stability and improvements, but it has, right? So that kind of gives a different look at the disease and ways to address it. And Kim, in your case, the idea, everybody on this, watching this video, has got to imagine, right? Kim is not growing motor neurons, right? And nobody could possibly think, and I'm going to come over here, this is not the face of a woman that's somehow magically making new neurons, right? That's not what's happening. And so instead, the question is to be able to go from a situation where you were not able to take steps and then be able to, every single day now, take 8 or 9 steps, and also a right foot that was pointing out, which now you can just straighten. And the two of you guys, I come back over here, that can both turn in bed now, but you guys couldn't before. So again, the question is, what are we doing? We're definitely not growing neurons in the course of 3 weeks. That's not what's happening. Instead, what we know already, and that's the Israeli study. I always think about that Tel Aviv study from 2021, where they're describing the reversibility of this disease. Right, their approach was breaking down TDP-43 allows the neuron to fire properly again. And I think what we're looking at when we're talking to the 4 of you guys, we're seeing that. And the reason for me that this video becomes so important, it really changes, one, Linda and Anthony, on your side, the ability to get stability for this length of time. There'd be no reason to expect things would go in a different direction. We've seen it, and we already have a number of other people here that are the same as far as stability for long periods of time. You guys met Brian last time, a complete reversal, and you're doing it from a dietary standpoint that's non-traditional and feeling even more energy and getting even more strength, right? So it starts again, kind of putting everybody in a position where like, individualized approach really becomes important. And Kim, you're doing some kind of magic trick, right? You're definitely not growing new neurons. And so instead, to the point of that Israeli study, these are neurons that can fire. They are firing. These are not dead neurons. These are not destroyed neurons. These are neurons that are able to fire. And for that reason, you went from not being able to take steps to every day now, with Richard's assistance, taking 8 to 9 steps. And overnight, going from a position where you could not get enough strength on your right ankle, so it caused your right foot to turn out and routinely caused your right foot to buckle under, to a point where essentially overnight that improved. Meaning, again, neurons that would have been considered not working or not able to start working. And instead, the amount of improvement that we're seeing in your case, I mean, we are seeing over a 3-week period of time, all these neurons waking up.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's exciting.
Right, because I think about all of the people that we have that have reversed lifestyle for them and eating clean, getting rid of sugar, getting rid of things like Teflon pans, getting rid of extra chemicals in toothpaste. That is like for sure a big component of this whole thing. So tell me, I'm not sure, is there anything else that you think might be useful for anybody that's watching? Any other tips or tricks?
Our starting point with the nutrition part was we made a food sensitivity test panel.
Yep.
So we knew what she was sensitive, which sensitivity she had, and then we navigated our way, creating a menu and base ingredients that we always use. And I think that has been the key to stabilize. Nu har du inte så många. And now her number of food sensitivities has been significantly reduced as well.
So we were talking earlier in the day about, number one, rotating your diet to reduce the risk of food sensitivities, but also remember, this is a disease of inflammation. Linda, I'm trying to get you in the same thing, in the same frame. And so anytime that you're eating, everything that you eat, you are either adding to inflammation or reducing inflammation. Food is not neutral. And so to the point, Richard, that you and Kim are making, I completely agree. We started out always on my side, I'm looking for data. I'm looking to get really clear on what's going on. What does GI health look like? Do you have sensitivities to certain foods? If you do, those foods are not healthy for you. What does the immune system look like? Are there areas that we need to work on improving? What does mitochondrial function look like? What are your infections and how do we want to go after them? And how much autoimmune, I'm going to call it dysfunction. It's not a very pretty word, but do you have in the central nervous system as a result? So for me, trying to get like that comprehensive picture. And then to the point that you guys are making, Richard and Kim, if there is a food in your diet and is contributing to inflammation, I mean, at the core, this is a disease of inflammation. The more inflammation, whether it's from diet, lack of sleep, depression, anxiety, meaning poor mood, or whether it's from water that may not be clean, exposure to pesticides. If you are coming in contact with something that's creating inflammation, you would expect progression. And so coming back over, I agree. Had we not looked at food sensitivities, we looked at multiple different immunoglobulin classes to really see your immune system and how you're responding. And you made some major changes in food, and it did allow your body to reduce sensitivities to a number of foods, which were then re-added. Controlling diet-related inflammation is huge. And then again, I'm trying to get the four of you guys. That's essentially, Lyndon, Anthony, what you're describing as well, which is, again, the idea of finding foods that are very high in nutritional value, high minerals, high vitamins, high nutrients, and focusing on those foods, resetting a body with foods that are not inflammatory, foods that may look healthy, but if you test and find that they're causing inflammation in your body, you eliminate them. And then again, focusing on foods that are super high in nutrients, that component, it looks to be incredibly important. So yeah, Kim, Richard, I agree. That's 100%.
The only thing I was going to add was we've also gotten rid of stuff like toxic pots and pans. We use non-toxic, like body soap, shampoos, lotions, toothpaste, deodorants, all those things. We've tried to eliminate all that stuff that's that can be toxic to you. And it's you got to do. You can't just do one part of your lifestyle change. You have to change your whole. The whole aspect of everything, of your daily living and how you, what you eat, what you put in on your body.
There's a bunch of hidden toxins, huh? And so products, whether it's parabens and phthalates, shampoos, conditioners, face creams, chemicals in water. We were talking yesterday about filters. Anthony, I agree 100%. It is very easy to overlook hidden areas that have huge amounts of toxins. And so cleaning up your diet, that's a no-brainer. But outside of that, making sure anything that you're coming in contact with doesn't have a lot of chemicals becomes super important.
That's right.
I completely agree. Tell us.
Here goes.
And stay positive.
Yeah. So we've talked, I'll come on back so that everybody can see the four of you guys. Well, I would tell you, Linda, for me, I mean, you're one of the most positive people I know. There's no mistaking that fact. We were talking last visit. I think that part for you is a huge component to your ability to gain control over this disease. We know that you guys at home live along with your sister. I've seen you and your sister together. You guys are a riot, like always laughing and enjoying. Kim, to your point, I mean, there's no doubt the amount of improvements that we've seen this time. I think what we're putting on board, it's definitely a big piece. And the reason I say that is, in spite of the ability to have happiness and control mood, you had that before you guys came in, but it wasn't enough to get disease under control. So I think that part is important, but possibly on its own can't get this disease under control. But neither can medicine, right? So it really is the combination. I think you can put as much on board as you want, whether it's medically or technology like waves, but if you don't have a mindset behind this whole thing, if you cannot see yourself getting through this, If you can't make serotonin, right? So serotonin just stops this disease. It seems to really limit progression. The happier somebody is, the harder it is for this to progress. And although I recognize that's easy advice for me to give and hard for a lot of people to take, for everybody that's watching, you're looking at for people that are dealing with this very devastating situation. And in spite of that, right, imagine, in spite of that fact, Kim's number one advice is, and I agree, you got to be able to see yourself getting through, and you've got to be able to manage happiness. And I'm coming over, Linda and Anthony you guys were just shaking your head as well, as far as yes. So
Absolutely.
I realize again, for anybody that's watching this, so the question is, for 4 people that have been dealing with this, Linda, when was your first symptom?
Oh, God.
2017.
Yeah.
Oh, so just to that point, anybody that thinks that if somebody's had this disease for a long time or a lot of damage from this disease, that there's some point where you can't get better, that's not true, right? Because you're looking at somebody that's been dealing with this 2017 and came in as a pretty rapid progressor. Okay, and then Kim, how long have you been dealing with this?
April 2021.
April 2021. Okay, and again, in a 3-week period of time, went from not able to take steps to every day taking steps. And so for anybody that's looking and saying, I wonder if this is good advice, 4 people that are all saying happiness is critical in controlling this disease, without telling anybody that's watching, you are looking at 4 experts in this disease. And the question for these 4 people, what is your advice for everybody else? And you're hearing 4 people shake their head yes, and Kim's point, which is happiness, seeing yourself being able to get through this. Even though it's incredibly difficult, it does not change the fact it is one of the most important, right? Cleaning up your diet, making sure you're not coming in contact with a bunch of chemicals, and making sure that you can keep serotonin where it belongs. Yeah, I agree. I think that's super, super important advice. And good sleep. Oh, so you guys, I think, well, the 2 of you ladies are sleeping better, which means the 2 of you men are sleeping better, right? So what we know is both of you guys, I know Kim, for you, that was a major change this time as far as improvement in sleep.
Yeah.
And Linda, in the past, you have already improved your sleep and you're continuing to improve sleep. And so what we find over here, the closer we are to getting control, typically the less brain fog, the better sleep, the better energy. So when people come in and they're progressing, normally what we see is really poor sleep, really lots of brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and mood that's fairly unstable. Happy times followed by crying times, followed by happy times. And then what we'll see as we get closer and closer to disease control, and control for me, when I use that term, somebody that's no longer progressing. Right there for an extended period of time. Not somebody that stops progressing for a week, but instead somebody that stops progressing for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. Right. So normally over that period of time, what we'll see is those things changing. It's as if cells are getting healthier and brain function is normalizing. It's not really a fair thing to say because we're not measuring that part. So I understand it's just an assumption on my part, but we see those changes every time, that improvement in sleep. And the fact that both of you can turn over in bed now, I'm sure is a contributing factor. Okay, well then I think we finish up the video. Otherwise, I imagine everybody's just going to turn it off at some point. Anything else? I feel like we covered everything, right? We covered diet. We covered other things in the home. We covered happiness and emotion. Richard, to your last point, as far as sleep, it becomes really important. This is our video to say this disease responds to treatment. It looks to be reversible. You're looking at 2 people that are going through this process and getting better. And so it means different people, different kinds of therapies, different kinds of treatments. Find the thing that works for you, but do something, right? Because this looks to be a disease that is reversible. All right. Thank you guys for doing this video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.